He didn't scream when the police stepped into his apartment. He didn't resist, didn't deny. He simply stood by the wall, quietly watching officers open the refrigerator, then the closet where the evidence of his life and his derangement lay in plain sight. One investigator would later say, "I realized we weren't standing in front of a criminal. We were standing in front of a man in whom everything human had disappeared." This is the story of a person who didn't want to kill, he wanted to keep. A story where the fear of being alone grew stronger than the fear of the law. Jeffrey Dahmer's name is familiar to anyone with even a passing interest in crime history. He became a symbol of absolute evil, not because of dramatic theatrics, but because of how calmly he acted. Strip away the headlines and myths, and another question remains. How did an ordinary boy from an American suburb become a figure pored over by psychologists, criminologists, and clergy? The answer begins long before his arrest, back in a childhood that looked almost normal. Jeffrey was born on May 21st, 1960, in West Allis, Wisconsin. He was the first child in the family. His father, Lionel, was a chemist. His mother, Joyce, struggled with anxiety disorders and took powerful medication. Home often felt like a battleground. Conflict, arguments, emotional distance. The boy grew up lonely, quiet, and intensely observant. He didn't know how to play with other kids, didn't show emotion, and didn't seek attention. But his curiosity was unusual, precise to the point of discomfort. He was fascinated by how animals were put together. He studied anatomy. When his father showed him how to dissect a dead animal for scientific purposes, Jeffrey didn't feel fear. He felt awe. That moment began a strange habit, collecting remains. He stored bones in jars, cleaned them, examined them. He would later say, "I just like the sound of bones clacking against each other." By adolescence, loneliness had become his default state. He drank more and more. By 15, he was taking a flask to school. Teachers noticed, but chalked it up to a difficult age. They didn't know that inside, not anger but emptiness was growing. In 1978, his parents divorced. His mother left, his father moved out. Jeffrey was alone in the house. Empty rooms, silence, alcohol, and endless thoughts. That summer, he met a young hitchhiker named Steven. They drank, talked. When the man got ready to leave, a single thought flashed in Dahmer's mind. He'll leave, like everyone else. Later he would say, "I just didn't want him to go. I wanted him to stay." That night was the first. Afterward, silence. No one suspected anything. No one searched. He remained unpunished and realized he could live with it. What followed were failed attempts to restart his life. He enrolled in college, dropped out after 3 months, joined the army, was discharged for drinking, lived with his grandmother, the one person who felt any warmth toward him. She didn't know he was already committing new crimes. She complained about odors, about strange visitors. Sometimes she found odd items in his drawers, but he explained them away. Chemistry, experiments, photography. She believed him. In 1988, he moved to Milwaukee, to North 25th Street. The small apartment, Unit 213, would be his last home and the last for many others. By day, he was a polite, quiet worker at a chocolate factory. No one complained, no one suspected. By night, he went looking, not for revenge or profit, for control. He offered young men money for photographs, promised a drink, a conversation, a calm evening. He acted gently, slowly, like someone who just wanted company. But inside, there was no compassion. Only the terror of being alone and a compulsive need to make someone stay. Neighbors heard noises, complained about smells, but police didn't act. Once, officers came after a call about a half-dressed man in the hallway. Dahmer said the man was his friend, just drunk. The officers believed him. They left, returning the victim to his apartment. That decision would later be called one of the most tragic errors in American policing. On July 22nd, 1991, chance intervened. One of the men Dahmer had lured managed to escape and flag down a patrol car. He returned with officers to the apartment. The first thing they saw, photographs. Then, the refrigerator. Then, drawers containing what defied explanation. The investigators froze. No one shouted. No one spoke. One officer later said, In that moment, I realized I was standing in the darkest corner of the human soul. Dahmer didn't resist. He quietly said, "What you're looking for is over there." During questioning, he denied nothing. He recounted everything, step by step, with clinical precision. He didn't justify himself, didn't ask for mercy. His voice was even, his gaze empty. Psychiatrists struggled to classify him. Madman? Psychopath? Or someone who simply lacked internal boundaries? One specialist wrote, "He understood every act, but did not understand why it was wrong." Dahmer said, "I didn't kill out of anger. I killed because I didn't want to be alone." The trial began in January 1992. He pled guilty to all counts. The courtroom was packed with journalists, victims' families, and onlookers. During the hearings, he sat still. No emotion, no visible remorse. He listened as prosecutors read names, dates, circumstances. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, he replied, "I know I deserve death. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want this to be over." Psychiatrists, prosecutors, and the judge agreed on one point. He was legally sane. 15 life sentences, nearly 1,000 years behind bars. In prison, he behaved quietly. He worked, cleaned, read the Bible. Some staff said he'd found faith and sought forgiveness. Other inmates saw a symbol of evil that couldn't be forgiven. In November 1994, during morning cleaning in the prison laundry, another inmate attacked him. Within minutes, it was over. Thus ended the life of a man who feared loneliness most and died alone. His death brought no relief. Victims' families said, "He left too quickly. He never had time to understand what he did." Over the years, public perception shifted. Psychiatrists and criminologists came to see Dahmer's case not merely as a string of crimes, but as a manifestation of systemic failure. Neighbors' indifference, police negligence, neglect of mental health. He became an object lesson in how society can miss a monster if he's polite. His case entered criminology textbooks and university psychiatry courses. His apartment building was demolished. In its place, an empty lot. Milwaukee residents didn't want a memorial. They wanted forgetting, but memory can't be erased. Jeffrey Dahmer's story is not only about brutality. It is a story about emptiness, about how a person who cannot love tries to replace love with control, how loneliness fuels the abyss. He wasn't a raving lunatic, not a literal demon. He was a person in whom the human had gone missing. Perhaps that is the deepest horror, because evil doesn't always arrive with rage. Sometimes it is quiet, polite, smiling. It lives next door. It says hello in the morning, works down the hall, and only at night shows its true face. Jeffrey Dahmer's story is not a tale of crimes. It is a warning. As long as society turns away from those who are strange, withdrawn, and broken, new monsters will be made again. Not from hatred, but from emptiness.